This ASIC miner right here gives you a 1 in 100. I think it was a 1 in 500 some chance. 1 in 577 chance per year of hitting a Bitcoin block. Now, it's $1,000 and it uses electricity depending on your electrical cost. We're going to break that down, see how much it's going to cost you to run. And we're also going to go over how that chance per year changes every 2016 blocks. So let's get right into it. First of all, this is the Avalon Mini3. I have one that's sitting in my room right now. I'll probably have like a little B-roll shot or something that go across the screen. But it's a $1,000 ASIC miner that mines Bitcoin, and primarily Bitcoin unless you choose to mine anything off the SHA-256 mining algorithm. I think I just had a stroke. But this thing does 37.5 terahash at a power consumption of 800 watts, which, if you put it on a watt meter, is most likely going to be around 820 to 840 watts if you're really paying attention to that. I haven't been able to plug mine in yet because mine isn't working for some reason. This is the Can-Am Avalon Mini3. They don't have it available on their website unless you live in the UK or EU, whatever the adapters are. They have them available. They ship from China. I'll have a link down in the description below for it. If you guys live in the UK or EU, what you guys' electric cost is quite a bit of money out there. So, as I said, we'll get into that. But it is available on Crypto Miner Bros for all my folks in the US. It comes with a US plug. It's basically a NEMA 515. You put it into the regular wall outlet, and it will go to a C13 that goes into the bottom of the ASIC miners. But yeah, it's $1,000. Crypto Miner Bros. I want to see. Hold on. Before I even tell you about my discount code, I want to see if it at least works for the Mini3. I don't think it does. It's $1,000 minimum. Code is Blue Moon. But for some ASIC miners, it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work for this, even though it is $1,000. But whatever. It doesn't work, but you know, there's other ASIC miners that it works with. So if you guys do go to Crypto Miner Bros and don't want a Mini3, just use code Bloom and get you $70 off. So I'll have a link for this in the description as well for all my folks in the US, because they're obviously not available on Avalon's actual website. And Crypto Miner Bros will have, as I say, where is it? Shipping. They usually, what you see right here is to your door. Every now and then they might have a smaller fee from freaking customs. Mine was like $40, so it wasn't a huge difference. But yeah, so that ASIC miner, 37.5 terahash. Mine does actual 41 terahash, which is, you know, better odds. 528, 1 out of 528, but you're most likely going to stay around that 37.5 unless you got lucky with silicon in it. But we're going to go into why this isn't a dead set number per year, and it has something to do with the difficulty of Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin difficulty adjusts every 2016 blocks, and right now it's looking like we're due to drop a couple percent in the difficulty. So it's looking like it's probably going to go down probably a trillion or so. The current difficulty is sitting at 155 trillion, almost 156 trillion. That is the number or higher you need to get to actually hit a Bitcoin block. And it's a very difficult thing to mine, especially with lower hash rate. I think if you even want to hit a block a day, you have to be way up in the exahash, which is, you know, unlikely. Like here, let's put it in. So if you're sitting at 1 exahash, that's 1 in 8 per day. So you're probably going to want 6 exahash a day for a block a day. That is a lot of hash rate, especially since I'm pretty sure the current hash rate is. Let's go to mining pool stats and see what the current hash rate is. It is 100. Oh wow, it's actually a zettahash currently. So it's a percentage of that. Zettahash is 1,000 exahash, so it is very high right now. But yeah, so it's very unlikely. It changes constantly. If you're in the terahash, 37.5 is 577 or 1 in 210,000 chance per day. As I said, it's a very low odd, but if you really think about it in a realistic term, it's better than the Powerball. So let's get into the breakdown of electric cost. So we're going to go over to mining now. And we're going to go look at the Mini 3 because I noticed they have a little bit better calculator than that. So right now we're going to go off the national average from what I've seen was 12 cents a kilowatt hour. You're looking at about $69 a month in electric bill. Now, some people could afford that little extra money out of their electric bill, but not everyone can. And there are people that have an extremely high kilowatt hour electric rate. Like there's people that are up in the 30s. And, if you're up in the 30s, I wouldn't recommend it because that's $172 a month. That's a lot of money. But, there's still people out there that can afford that loss. 800 watts is the same as, any kind of electric floor heater or any kind of electric heater in general uses about that 800 watts, maybe 900 watts. There's even some 1200 watt ones out there. So it's basically like running a little heater, but the only difference is that if you're pool mining with this, you're earning, 0.000401 Bitcoin. So that's $1.67 in Bitcoin a day. So it's not a lot, but if you're planning on to just continue to stack your wallet and hold it, I guess it's some kind of worth it because they're still at least getting Bitcoin. Unless you want to do Bitcoin Cash, which you get a lot higher return on that. And Bitcoin Cash has gone through some price appreciation this bull run, or if you even want to call it a bull run, it hasn't really felt like one, but but it has gone up in price quite a bit. And it actually looks like it might be the most profitable other than whatever that fractal Bitcoin is, but I don't know what the hell fractal Bitcoin is. I would probably stick with something that's been around a long time like Bitcoin Cash or just Bitcoin itself. But it's a good way to build your wallet, but a lot of people are probably going to opt to solo mine with it, especially with the odds that it gives you. But you also got to remember that the odds are going to change. Now, if the difficulty dropped 10%, that would increase your yearly and daily luck significantly. But of course, Bitcoin hash rate has been surging and keeps going up and up and up. I don't foresee it ever going down enough. Maybe in the bear market. Historically, it usually dips a little bit in the bear market because there are a lot of big players out there that just choose not to mine after a certain point because their machines aren't earning enough to run. But lately, Bitcoin's price has been very high, so those big players out there can obviously afford it with their 2 cents a kilowatt hour or whatever the hell they pay. I'm pretty sure half of them have free electric at this rate if they have, millions of miners running. But there's a lot of big players out there that you're competing with, and that's why it's so difficult to actually mine a block, because obviously they have the tools and they have the hash power to hit blocks, compared to a home miner, which, as I said, 37.5 terahash, and to even be competitive with a Bitcoin block, you're going to need to be in the petahash to even kind of compete with it, and that's going to cost a lot of money in the long run. But there are options. So a lot of people are always talking about the big kahuna, Bitcoin, but there is other options out there for solo mining. And one of the ones that are easier to compete with would be Bitcoin Cash. They have a total of 5 exahash on the network. And if you wanted to realistically be in a competitive front with all the big miners on Bitcoin Cash, you'd need around 120 to 130 terahash, which isn't impossible. I believe, hold on, that's probably like, 3 of these things you'd be around that point, 3 or 4. And say you're paying your 12 cents a kilowatt hour, you're spending $276 a month. But if we go over to Solo Chance, because Solo Luck is Voss Coin, he only does Bitcoin, he doesn't have anything else, but they do Bitcoin Cash, and say, let's do the math here. I'm going to plug it into my phone. 37.5 times 4 is 150 terahash. That gives you, per month, that's a 1 in 7 chance, and it's a guaranteed of at least 1 block a year average. Almost 2 blocks a year. So, and let's also get into the nitty gritty of price. Bitcoin Cash is $501 per coin, and the Bitcoin reward is the same as Bitcoin, or the block reward is the same as Bitcoin, 3.125. So it's about $1,500, almost $1,600, and that is significantly better odds than doing it with just regular Bitcoin. So there's other plays that you can make. I wouldn't recommend going with Bitcoin SV, but there's, eCash I think is pretty decent reward. And Bitcoin 2 as this came out, and I think it's 50 or 50 bucks per block, and they only have petahash, so you got significantly higher odds of hitting a Bitcoin 2 block. But yeah, so in my opinion, is the Avalon Mini3 worth the buy, considering that you have that chance of hitting either the big boy of $320,000, or if you want to stay in a moderate, realistic area of a $1,500 Bitcoin Cash block? I think it is. It's also a great heater to begin with as well. I have it heating my room, and it does an awesome job at it. And I would highly recommend it if you just want a heater that earns Bitcoin. You can pool mine with it. You can get small rewards if you want. It's only 800 watts. If you can afford to pay out of pocket the monthly cost that it would be, which again is $69, you can do that. And then some people, they're even lucky they pay 9 cents a kilowatt hour. That's 51 bucks. If you can afford that, I recommend it all the way. You're still earning almost $2 a day in Bitcoin. And if you're pool mining or if you're solo mining, just do Bitcoin Cash, because, it's a lot easier on your wallet, considering the fact that you have, with 37.5, you have a 1 in 30 chance per month, or a 1 in 2 chance per year. So that is a lot higher than, Bitcoin. What's 1 in 210,000 chance, or 1 in 577 per year, compared to a 1 in 894 chance a day, or 1 in 2 in a year. So if you guys want to check these miners out, if you're interested in buying them, I have a link down below. Of course, if you're buying a Can-Am Mini3 from the actual website, do keep in mind that there is going to be tariffs and stuff, even though these are going to the UK if anyone buys them, since they don't have any US stock. But if you go with the safe bet of Crypto Miner Bros, this is the price you're most likely going to pay. You may have a little extra with customs or duties. There may be that, but they try and keep that price as close as possible to what you see on the website. So yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.